off center. It worked. It worked. Well, welcome to UUCG. Everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad that you're all here today. This is a little bit of a different service, and I'm going to tell you about it in a few minutes, but I'm going to start with a quote that we have started with every fourth Sunday since September. In her guide for compassionate living, Buddhist nun Pema Chodron says, "It is unconditional compassion for ourselves that leads naturally to unconditional compassion for others. If we are willing to stand fully in our own shoes and never give up on ourselves, then we will be able to put ourselves in the shoes of others and never give up on them. True compassion does not come from wanting to help out those less fortunate than ourselves, but from realizing our kinship with all beings." Here at UUCG, we have 2 lay-led services each month. We have been following the theme of compassion at each fourth Sunday since September. This is a thread which we hope would have the power to transform us, even if it's just in very small ways. Our second Sunday service illuminates compassionate programs within our community. Our fourth Sunday is its sister, helping us expand our own compassion as we recognize our kinship with all beings. Today is going to be a little different in several ways. The first difference you've already noticed. We're in a circle. Secondly, we are using a videotape today, but no one has to worry about whether their makeup's on straight or their hair is combed, because what we're really doing is getting the audio from the guided meditation that Billy's going to do a little bit later. And instead, the second thing that's going to be different today, or the third thing that's going to be a little different, is that we're going to stay seated. So this is just going to be part of our discipline today, is to stay seated until we get to the point where we have our talk-back session, or talk-back portion, which is towards the end. So get comfortable. And lastly, instead of a TED Talk, which is what we have been doing for these 4 Sundays, our friend Billy Conyers will be our speaker. In reality, she will be our guide. Today will be an experiential service where we learn a compassionate meditation practice that Billy has found to be meaningful. When she told me how she had learned about the practice and offered to share it, I jumped at the opportunity. And I hope that you all will enjoy and get something out of it. And if you don't, or if you do, you'll have an opportunity to tell us. We're going to follow the bulletin that you should have gotten when you came in, that Jerry probably kindly gave to you. I want to thank Jerry for being so faithful about being an usher. He's a great greeter, and we appreciate the fact that he does that. I also want to thank Lily Morgan for bringing flowers and for refreshing our flowers in the front of the sanctuary, which is so nice. We're going to begin our service with our congregational covenant, found in your program. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve human need. This is our great covenant. If I could figure out how to light this chalice without standing, I would, but that's not something I have mastered. I should do what?
It's up. Pull it down.
Thank you. It's good to have people who know what to do. All right. We're going to, I think we all know this, or those of us who know it well enough that we can lead other folks. We're going to sing Rise Up, O Flame. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame. our service where we greet guests and each other. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves, who's here maybe for the first time?
I'm not here for the first time, but I'm a repeat person, so in the winter, I come down to my little place on Jekyll. My name is Betty Brown, and I'm not actually a snowbird, I'm an Atlanta fleer from so it's nice to be with you again.
Welcome. Anyone else? All right, well, if you just would turn to your neighbor and greet them and say hello. You would turn in your hymnal to page 348. We're going to sing Guide My Feet.
And we practiced this one last week. You know, when James was there, so we should sing this great gusto.
348.
That guy was evil. God, my feet, wide on this race. God, my feet, while I run this race. God, my feet, while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. We should sing it back. While I run this race, hold my hand. While I run this race, hold my hand. While I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Good morning. I've been asked to read a poem from an anthology entitled Poems of Awakening. And as you can see, circles are important to us this morning. So is meditation. And this poem relates to both of those. The poem is entitled Eagle Poem. And it's by Joy Harjo, a Native American poet. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, in moments steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound, but either other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. Thank you, Mary.
Since we're going to be, since our speaker guider is going to be doing meditation, we're going to go right into our main program.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for having me, and thank all of you for being here this morning. It's wonderful to be able to share this meditation that's meant so much to me, and I appreciate the opportunity. Before we get started, I think the poem set the stage beautifully, Mary. So well done. But I'd like you to close your eyes for just a moment and take a deep breath. Now let it out slowly. Let your shoulders relax. Try to clear your mind about what you've just done and what you have to do after you leave this room. Just be in the present moment. Relax. Relax for just a moment while you soak in the good vibrations of those around you. Now, open your eyes and know that you are indeed in a sanctuary, a safe place. For the next 20 minutes, we'll be talking about reaching a part of you that's already there, compassion. We're going to do this through a meditation the Buddhists call the 7 steps of accessing. But first, since Beth mentioned this, she wanted me to let you know how I came upon this meditation. It was so synchronistic, it was just meant to be, I think. Periodically, I visit Father Liam Collins in Savannah. You might remember Liam. He was minister at St. Mark's Church for many years, and such a positive energy in this community. On this particular October morning, he was excited about a book he was reading. We always talk about what we're reading and what we're doing. This book is called The Power of Forgiveness by the Dalai Lama and by Victor Chan, Chinese. I've got a copy of it on the entrance table if you're interested in it. Now, I mentioned that Victor Chan is a Chinese simply because the Chinese, of course, have not treated Tibet very well at all. And a lot of pain and suffering has been caused by the Chinese. And so it was interesting that Victor Chan was able to get close to the Dalai Lama and to write his book with him. Father Liam was specifically talking about a meditation sequence, quoting the Dalai Lama, which touched on our inner compassion. My ears perked up because the previous Sunday I had been here at UUCG for the Compassion Sunday, so I was all tuned in. Father Liam read aloud. These are the Dalai Lama's words, and I'm going to read them to you.
To reduce hatred and other destructive emotions, you must develop their opposites, compassion and kindness. In my meditations, I make visualizations and send positive emotions like happiness and affection to others. Then another visualization, Dalai Lama goes on. I visualize receiving their sufferings, their negative emotions. I do this every day. He talks about the Chinese. Again, I quote, as I meditate, I breathe in all their poisons, hatred, fear, cruelty. Then I breathe out. I let all the good things come out, like compassion, forgiveness. I take inside my body all these bad things. Then I replace the poisons with fresh air, giving and taking. I take care not to blame. I don't blame the Chinese, and I don't blame myself. End of quote. Powerful stuff. Then on my way home, I was listening to a disc of Father Richard Rohr's. It was a particular series of 7 discs called Jesus and Buddha, Paths to Awakening. I also have the set on the table out front too. And darned if disc 4 didn't end with the same meditation, but it was more in the form of a guided meditation. And it was just like, oh wow, how did this happen? All 3 things in a row. And so immediately I thought of Beth. I called her up and I said, Beth, you'll never guess what happened, and told her the story. And she said, sure, you can speak at one of our compassion meditations. And so here I am, and I'm very thankful to be here. And right here at first, I must mention that I'm not a trained expert. I began to learn about meditation when I was on the West Coast in Seattle and Los Angeles. That was about 30 years ago. So I've been meditating off and on for 30 years. But within the past 3 years, I've renewed my interest and really developed a passion for meditation, and have been seriously reading, studying, and learning, and trying to grow through the teachings of those who have spent lifetimes at this spiritual quest. I've learned some things in the process which I'm happy. It's actually more than just being happy. I'm almost compelled to share. Back to the meditation. Father Rohr gives us a little background information that helps set the stage for this particular meditation as he gives it. First of all, and there may be Buddhists in the crowd, so if I misspeak, please correct me. But first of all, Father Rohr says, Buddhists name 4 limitless qualities: human kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Father Rohr says that means soulful peace. I have difficulty wrapping my tongue around it. But the 4, human kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and they're all in each one of us. We've also all been joyful. We've all been compassionate. We've also experienced at one time or another soulful peace and human kindness. And the Buddhists say that the more you use them, the more you have to give. Material qualities decrease by use, but spiritual qualities seem to increase. Maybe you're thinking that human kindness and compassion sound an awful lot alike. And I think the poem that Mary just read really addresses this. In Buddhist thinking, compassion is different because it includes a willingness to so identify with another person that you're actually willing to take some of their suffering and help them carry it. You've got to walk in their moccasins, as the poem said, as the Indians say, and as so many of us say. For example, maybe someone spoke a little unkindly to you. your normal knee-jerk reaction is, well, you call me, I'll call you one better. But you only double the evil when you react this way. Instead, try to deliberately think about saying, he or she is unhappy. They're having a rotten day. I don't need to increase his suffering by calling them an idiot. That's not going to help at all. And this is the question, can we detach from whomever we are and hear the unkind statement and see it as suffering? The Dalai Lama, and I know I'm repeating here, but it's important, says that every one of us has this place of compassion. But unless we access it, unless we consciously draw upon that source, it doesn't increase. But how do you find it if you don't know where it is? Well, one of way is this 7 circles of compassion meditation I'm going to share with you this morning. I've been using it for the last 3 months, and I tell you, it really works. And when you see yourself change, you know that if each one of us in this room, it doesn't take many, it takes 5, 10, 15, start to think in this way, it slowly changes the energy of the world. I didn't read that theory anywhere that I know of. Maybe it's tucked in my subconscious, but I truly believe it. And I do believe, too, that this meditation will help you find your compassion core so that you can draw on it. Now, you don't need to make notes. I've got a handout for you after the service. But just relax and experience it. The words I'm saying are borrowed liberally from Richard Rohr's interpretation of these steps. There will be a pause of silence, about 15 seconds, between each step before going deeper. But when you do it yourself at home, and I hope you will, you'll want to allow more time between each of the 7 steps. So if we can all kind of get comfortable in our seats and put our feet flat on the floor, relax your shoulders, your arms are at ease, and your hands can be over your thighs, separate. And just relax again. Relax. Open up your mind and your heart. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Breathe in slowly and out. There is a place of compassion inside each one of us. I want you to search for and to awaken this place deep inside, to recognize it, to honor it, and to name this place. Never doubt it. It is there. From now on, whenever you draw upon it, you're going to increase it. The first step, Richard Rohr says, you may not hate yourself. Awaken this place of compassion and give love, understanding, and forgiveness back to yourself. This is the first step. Number 2, I want you to practice this first step with the second step. Now draw upon that source of compassion for someone you love very much. You all have this person, your wife, your husband, one of your children, your mother, your father, your dog. Picture them in your mind. Send love toward them right now from that source within you. Bless them. This is really what a blessing means. You're sending them love. Now, awaken that loving kindness for a friend, an associate. Not the second circle, but someone you love, your uncle, someone you admire and care about. You love him or her. Awaken your love for that person and send it to them. Next, awaken and send that compassion towards someone to whom you feel neutral or indifferent. The gas station attendant. You just saw him for a moment, but he looked a little sad. Or maybe the checkout girl was a little disgruntled at the grocery store. Send her some love. And now, a little harder. Awaken loving kindness to someone who has really screwed you. I want you to name and visualize this person if you can. Someone who has hurt you or who's talked evil of you. Someone you really don't want to be around. You're going to break the cord of bondage from your side with compassion, with love, with understanding. Just bless that person right now. Send your would-be enemy your love. This is what it means to pray for somebody. And from now on, every time you think of this person, quick, before you revisit the argument, I'm right, you're wrong, so forth, visualize him or her and send love. The sixth circle might surprise you. I want you to lump together all the first 5 circles. Send one piece of love toward yourself, next to someone you love very much, third to a friend, then to someone to whom you feel neutral or indifferent, and finally to an enemy. This is your circle, and it has no beginning and no end. Do you know why this is important? It's to help you recognize that love is not determined by the worthiness of the object. Love is determined by the giver of the love. I'll repeat that. It's to help you recognize that love is not determined by worthiness, but by the giver. You deem it so. You deem love. the same love and understanding you're extending toward your dear wife or your child, you're extending toward your enemy. Love is one piece. Finally, you're extending loving kindness toward all human beings in the universe, regardless of religion, regardless of race, regardless of culture, regardless of nationality. This is the final circle of compassion. To return to awareness, touch each step, feel each circle in reverse. Universal humanity. Your group love moment. A would-be enemy. An acquaintance. A dear friend. Your loved one. And finally, return love to yourself. When you feel ready, return to your outer physical state and open your eyes. In closing, I would like to say the first part of St. Francis' prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. And now I can easily say to all of you, as you go about your day, peace be with you. Thank you. And I'd like to go ahead and give out the sheets if possible, and then we'll have a Q&A. We can do it at the same time. So, thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Billy. That was very lovely. And I just want to invite anybody who has something they might like to share, something they might like to say, at this time, just let me know and I'll bring you the microphone.
I never meditated before, so this is really interesting.
Up closer. Okay, that's just.
I never meditated before, so this was really interesting. I felt like at peace, so I really appreciate this morning.
Thank you, Isaac. Anybody else like to?
I will. Just a piece of information. Billy alluded to the fact that if 5 or 10 or all of us could generate compassion and peace, maybe we could have an effect eventually on the whole world. And I just, many of you may be familiar with Jean Shinoda Boleyn's work. She is a Jungian psychologist out of California, and she has written a book called The Millionth Circle, and it's based on a practice called the Millionth Monkey. Has anybody ever heard of it?
The 99th monkey was what I heard, but.
Okay, and it has to do with observing practices of monkeys on a remote island. And one female, actually monkey, started doing something physically, breaking a shell or something before she ate the food. And so over time, the other monkeys observed her and they started doing it. And then the real kind of miracle, if you will, was that then sometime later, monkeys on a totally different island, very removed from this island, started doing the same behavior. And so Jean Shinoda uses that to demonstrate that we do all have the positive effect of energy, as well as the energy of prayer, which I'm sure we all know about. So.
Thank you, Daddy. That's beautiful.
Is it on? Okay. I realized recently that I've been in a very agitated state, and I think it's because I've been absorbing all the hatred that's out there in the media, in the world, just a lot of hatred. And I haven't been letting it out. I've been taking it in, but not letting it out. So this was very valuable for me. I've been a meditator on and off for years, but sometimes you need to reconnect with what you know is true and right. And I think that the key part for me this morning was the idea of taking it in and then releasing it. So the releasing part is something I haven't been doing, so I've been really agitated. And I think that that's something that probably a lot of people can relate to, but I don't know, I'm just putting that out there.
Here, here.
Anyone else? You know, I think it's I'm sure for most of you, as for me, it's a very personal experience to call up and to conjure up those people. And I'm not going to tell you who my enemy was, but I have to say I was surprised by who came to mind. So it was interesting to me to go through it because I had actually pre-read Billy's handout, so I knew where we were going. And I hadn't really even thought about who my enemy was going to be, and then, wow.
And in the meditation, we do talk about enemies, but we have some disagreements with people. And it's so hard to let those go sometimes. We get them and we think about them. We go to bed and wake up in the middle of the night and, well, why didn't I say this or why didn't I say that? And instead of doing that, and this is just, I'll tell you, I confess, since I heard this meditation, every time I start doing that, I might before have just tried to put it out of my mind because it was worrying me to death. But once I started doing this, I would just picture the person and just send love. Do not think about anything about the conversation because you're probably both right in your own selves. But just let it go. And I think this is a beautiful thing about the Buddhist religion, I guess you could call it a religion, or the Buddhist practice, is that they teach you to detach and to not take everything so personally. And that's such a gift, to not bear all of these negative feelings. And even if you only have one, it can weight you down.
I think that idea connects to spreading feeling, because I think when you do disconnect or just
not let it get to you and give, you know, and breathe out and let it out. It makes you more capable of helping. It makes you more useful.
It's on.
I just want to comment on.
Yeah, just speak right into the front.
I'll give up in a minute. I want to comment on forgiveness and how important I found it in my life. Just recently, I found that it gives me the peace of mind to get through many other problems if I can just forgive the people that I hold a grudge against or something that was said. My protection against that is just on a daily happening where I say, how important is it? And it's usually not important. And I get on a very peaceful mind because of that.
Well, I just want to say that this exercise this morning is very needed and very appreciated within my life, because I've been dealing with some insecurities and some grudges, holding on to some grudges, and I really need to release it, because if you hold on to that for a certain amount of time, it can start to weigh you down. And so I really appreciate this exercise, and I really need to study more on Buddhism. So thank you.
Bam.
Once when I was in a situation that was very difficult for me in the presence of someone who was dying and was having a difficult time, I had with me a couple of books on meditation practices of the Buddhist, and one that I found very useful was on loving kindness. And the suggestion was to use loving kindness as a kind of weapon defense, so that in the face of the person's difficulty and projecting onto you was this constant flow of loving kindness. Send it, loving kindness, and it helps you get through it. And so it's a kind of meditative practice in the act of living.
Billy, I wonder if when you're practicing this procedure, do you ever take longer than we took today?
Oh.
Thank you for asking that, Sally, because it might have been missed in all I said. But yes, please take longer. And I usually meditate 25 or 30 minutes a day, because it almost takes 5 minutes to settle yourself down. I was doing it 20 minutes because that seemed like doable time. But then it was 15 minutes by the time everything was filtered out of my little brain. And so it really does make a difference in your day and in how you perceive life. And it's not that you go around being holy or anything, because you still get mad, you still get irritated and all of this. But it seems to have more of a, you just let it go, or you really are more connected, so you maybe see the other person's side of it. And I think that's the thing, is to be detached from where you are. And that's a hard thing too, I think, to be detached from how you feel, because you know you're right. And and so you just have to kind of try to see it from a different perspective, and that's hard. It's really hard.
So, do you ever practice this to fall asleep?
Oh yeah, I practice it, and I read a book in the first part of my journey. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It's a fabulous book. And when I first read it, I said, I'll never be that holy. And it was talking about making prayer a part of your daily life. And, you know, that you just walk around and kind of talk to God. And I thought, you know, who does that? But the more you meditate, it's not that you're talking to God or anything. It's that when you have these little moments, like in the car, or you're walking the dog, or whenever, you know, you just kind of clear yourself out. And I don't know whether that's meditating. There's a great meditation series in the Great Courses. I don't know whether, I know the Leon and Mary and maybe many of you have had experiences with that. But it's more secular, but Buddhist inspired, because the Buddhists, let's face it, are the experts here. And now I've forgotten my point. What a horrible feeling. But anyway, he gives a walking meditation.
We talk about sleep.
Sleeping, and how to relax your body, you know, and to go through the different, you know, we've all perhaps been through that. But it is a great thing to turn over whatever you're worried about and can't sleep, and just say, you know, let go, let God, or whatever you want to say, and breathe in and breathe out. What I love is beauty in, beauty out. And just simple phrases like that can really just calm yourself.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just one, and I'll stop talking.
No,
Right,
I
question.
love it.
So, how long did it take you over time to get yourself into a place where it works for you?
I think it works pretty much calming you down almost right away. Now, I don't know what you mean by works, but it's not a means to an end. It's a means to a means to a means, because you reach different levels and you are able to get deeper inside yourself, really. And it's just like Richard says, and so many teachers say, you know, if you do something nice or compassionate or with loving kindness, then it multiplies. The Buddhists are right. This, you know, the more you do it, it's like it's in the front of your mind. Oh, I could pick up this newspaper and put it on her front porch because she can't walk. Or just little bitty stuff, you know.
Because you're noticing it more.
This is it.
Because you're outside. It's an interesting paradox to think that becoming more detached by being more centered. I mean, there couldn't be more two opposite sort of ideas, but it is a gift that keeps on giving.
It is. It is. And I'll tell you too, just as an aside, when I got the book, I got it because Liam loved it, and I love almost everything he loves. And so I started reading it, and I began to read it when I was agitated about something, and it wasn't anything. It wasn't like I was mad, but I was just had so much on my plate I could not, you know, filter it. And so I'd say, well, I'll read 5 minutes, and I'd read this book, and it was like a peace would just come over me. And I never had really a book that just made me feel so peaceful. And so I've got several more of the Dalai Lama's work, because it's just a great influence on your life. It really is.
Is that the one you mentioned here? The Dalai Lama and Victor Shaw?
Yes, the powerful.
I just wanted to bring you back to that point, I think where you were headed, of being in a sort of a state of prayer all day.
Yeah.
That you had thought, who does that? But yet you found your way, maybe you weren't quite finished talking about that, I don't think.
Well, I guess the bottom line is you really can't do that and not be entirely holy. talking to yourself and saying, now why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that?
I have a totally different kind of question, at least I think it is. I wonder how much of this is kind of gender specific. I observed that no men have spoken up, including myself.
That's our first two men.
That's all right.
Now that, and Isaac did.
I'm sorry.
We forget.
Also, I find that men have a hard time expressing feelings, or a much more difficult time expressing their feelings, and maybe as a consequence, don't speak up. It happens so frequently that I see men not able to participate in their retirement. Down where I live in a gated community, men come thinking they're going to play golf or tennis 6 or 7 days a week. That lasts maybe 3 months, 4 months, and it begins to dwindle. I see women's clubs that have all kinds of activities going on. Very few men's groups do that kind of thing. I just wonder if it applies here.
I have something to say. Imagine that.
Richard Rohr addresses this question because he believes that women, and I have no children, so I don't know this personally, but he says that women are more compassionate and more giving because they give life. And they're reminded of their ability to give life even if you haven't had children every month. And so this is a different perspective than men have. And men's retreats are really important in Richard's ministry. And one thing he brings out too, I'm just trying to collect all the things I remember, is that so much of society does not have a point where men become, or boys become men. How they know how to handle their masculinity, how they know how to handle their hormones, which are driven more than women's hormones. And so he is, and has been since, I guess, the 70s, had retreats for boys and young men, so that they can learn the importance of these feelings of compassion and different caring things. And I think it's true, and I think it's true. I'll be quiet after this. Maybe somebody else would like to speak to it.
Did you have words?
You were talking about prayer and praying continuously and the difficulty of that. For me, I think prayer, more than communication, is about connection. And feeling that connection through the day, connection to nature and the oneness and the web. For me, that's what prayer is about.
All right, we're going to take one more point, one more question, and then we're going to wrap up.
For the last couple of days, I've been working 24 hours a day in my head because I'm writing a script. And the reason I bring it up is there is a phrase from Shostakovich, who's part of the script thing, and he says, music praises God. And I have been thinking about that because for me, it's music, definitely has been all my life. I listen to music and that, does whatever So there are different ways, and music is hope. And I love the expression, music praises God. And that's Chostakolis' expression.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to, I see that somebody's already passed the basket that way. I'm going to pass the basket this way. If you would feel as though inclined to help support us keeping our lights on and all that sort of stuff, we would be very grateful. I want to direct you back to your bulletin, and we are going to sing Sort of Life. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen. Does anybody have any announcements that they need to make?
I'd like to make one. On February 1st,
at 9:30, our First Sunday Forum on February 1st will be Vincent Javoy Jr. Davis, who's president of the Robert S. Abbott Racial Unity Institute. We'll be talking about racial unity. It's sort of a continuation of the vigil we did for the boys that were killed. So that's at 9:30, February 1st. There's also an evensong that Jane Page will be conducting at 9 o'clock. So those two things on the first.
I have an announcement. We are putting together a team who is going to be looking into providing UUCG for a time, a photography exhibit. So this is going to be the months of September and October. So, and the photography is going to come from the members and friends of UUCG. So just to give you a heads up on that, so that you can be thinking about what photographs you may have taken in the past that you would like to enter into this photo exhibition here at the church.
Isaac reminded me that it would be good to announce that P-Flag Brunswick has its usual regular monthly meeting the first Wednesday of each month, And February the 9th will be the first, and it's coming up. It's 7 o'clock in this room, and you're certainly invited.
Can we, that would be that's not the first Wednesday. The 9th isn't. So is it that it's definitely the 9th?
It's the first
It's the
Wednesday,
first
whatever day that is.
Okay, all right. All right, that's all right. That's all right, I just don't want people to be confused. As you leave, it's the 4th. As you leave, if you're new and would like to keep your bulletin because there's information in here that you would like, please feel free to do that. For those of you who don't need your bulletin, if you would drop it in the basket on the way out. I'm going to play just a song before we leave. It's called A Gathering of Spirits, and you're welcome to stay for as long as you would like. If you're, I know we're getting close to time to leave, so feel free. We're done. If you'd like to enjoy this piece of music, please feel free to stay.
It's